Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Astrological Intentions. I am your host, Alex Reevy, along with the telephone talker herself, Sandy Reevy. It is episode 265, August 21st. Let's get right into it. In the transits, we have Sandy's conflict day, Tuesday, August 22nd, Venus retrograde square Jupiter.
Pick one.
And Mars opposing Neptune.
Exaggerated.
Wednesday, August 23rd, Sun ingress Virgo.
Buckle up or down.
And Mercury stations retrograde.
Hold till the new moon, September 14th.
Then Sandy's Astro-Interesting day, Thursday, August 24th, Mars trine Pluto retrograde.
Groundwork.
And Sunday, August 27th, Sun opposing Saturn retrograde.
Don't take personally.
And Saturn sets as a morning star.
Out from where he prefers to be.
Mars ingress Libra.
Into detriment.
Then in Talisman Times, Sandy has finished up one new, very welcome talisman coming up soon. And on the horizon, we have a lot to share with you, as well as in our house, Sandy and I had a mother-daughter date, and we want to share about it. So stay tuned for this episode of Astrological Intention.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you.
Hello, telephone talker.
I do talk on the telephone. I mean, we don't talk on the telephone as much as anyone used to, right?
But you mainly talk on Zoom, and actually you and I talk a lot on Zoom.
I mean, and the phone's really basically for text messages anymore, right?
It's true.
When we've kind of moved over into our social text messaging, versus picking up a phone and dialing a number.
It's true. It's true. Which brings me to going direct. Thank you, everybody, for sending in your feedback and your messages. We love them and we love to shout them out here. I do have a very special shout out to one of our new signups for Mexico 2024. Deborah came to this retreat from the podcast. And the whole reason why I called you the telephone talker is because since you didn't see or recognize Deborah's name, you gave her a call. So tell me a little bit about your combo.
I want to know who I'm traveling with. I want to know who is trusting in the ability to, go to on an international retreat. We only do international retreats because we can go domestic by ourselves, right? and so when a deposit came through, I was like, I don't recognize this name. It's the first time she's ever purchased from I've never talked to her as an astrologer.
Right.
So I gave her a call just to welcome her and tell her how excited I am and what a great opportunity that we both have to get to know one another and go on this, magical La Ventana Casa Tara retreat together in January. And she had said she started listening to our podcast, and it's coming on because of that.
Yes. So shout out to you, Deborah. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining and trusting in us. We are so excited to give you more details on what's coming up for the Casa Tara, the Mexico 2024 retreat. Okay, so remember, everybody, we would love to get your feedback and shared on Going Direct. So if you want to, send me info at intentionbeads.com or alex@intentionbeads.com. So let's move right into the transits because we got a big week ahead.
Yeah, it is. I got the conflict day and the Astro-Interesting day all stuck in here within 2 days of each other.
And the first one, the conflict day, is starting up Tuesday, August 22nd. I know this first transit, this first portion of the day is not the reason why it's the conflict, but let's talk about Venus retrograde square Jupiter.
So there's reception here with the Venus making this square to Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter's in Taurus this whole year. And of course, what rules Taurus? Who rules Taurus? Venus. So there's reception
Right.
here. So this is when we get a reception, there's a really nice blend of understanding. And when we're talking about the two benefics, Venus and Jupiter, they're wanting to have a pleasant opportunistic approach to something. Now this is the second of three passes because Venus is retrograde, so she's kind of waving to Jupiter again, and so this could exaggerate some situations, particularly as we talk about the later part of the day. But it's like pick one situation or one subject or one theme, because you can't do it all, or you shouldn't do it all. You shouldn't get it all. There's some sort of moderation is being a key word here. Like what you really need, take another strong, this is where you're taking another strong look at what do you want to occur? What is possible? You may not pull the trigger here, but Venus is past, even though she's retrograde, she's a morning star already. She's already coming up in the morning. We can see her before the sun comes. So there is this assertive motivation that Venus has, even in a retrograde cycle here, with the square to Jupiter. So it's kind of like taking a step forward, but making sure of your footing.
Right. Double checking.
Because they both of these are in a fixed sign. Venus is coming from Leo, and she's making this aspect to Taurus. These are both fixed placements that say, stable and sure, but moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the same day, but really the main reason why this is the conflict day, Mars opposing Neptune.
Yeah, this is that exaggerated, it's like not so sure how you feel. That Neptune really does diffuse or disguise Mars's ability to motivate. So if you're feeling a little bit, maybe exhausted or like when you say, I'm so tired, right? That's a little bit of an exaggeration.
Right.
Around that feeling. But I really think that if you can name the feeling, name the that's going on today, and to put a word to it, it may make it more realistic. It may make it more effective to work with, right? Like if I'm feeling not hopeful, if I'm like, I don't know if anything's going to work out. Like, I'm not so sure about this, right? We've all been there. We might be discussing something currently right now as we're going to need, we use that word, we need to watch it play out, or play through. Sometimes things just need time to develop, right? You don't have control over, steering the car in a certain way, right? Because it's out of gas, like it's just not moving, right? And so it's kind of like, if you can name it, I'm feeling kind of sad today, then it makes it more realistic.
Yeah.
So versus, I don't know what's wrong with me today. It's going to be that. So that's why I gave it a conflict day. It's kind of Mars opposing Neptune in water, retrograde. Mars wants to be effective and helpful in Virgo, and Neptune's like, why?
Wishy-washy. Right.
Just go relax. Why don't you? And Mars is like, really? That's kind of hard for me to do.
Which I actually, when you started talking about this, it was reminding me of the meditation I recorded for the Cancer season, of really delving into your emotions and locating where they are, or maybe where they like to sit in your body. So I'm going to recommend that one. I'll put the link in the description for everyone to check out. Um,
Hmm.
shall we move on to Wednesday?
Yep.
Wednesday, August 23rd, Sun ingress Virgo.
This is at 4:38 a.m. Central Time. So early, before we're waking up, the sun moves into Virgo. So it's about buckling up or buckling down. It's really a great time to organize self. This is always school season. People are getting their pencils sharpened and their new binders and their new jimmers and backpacks. This is the season where, even though you're not going back to school, where you do feel that it's kind of kind of wrapping the summer up, right? And it's
Right.
time to kind of maybe stay
Get
in.
back and get organized.
Yeah, the sun's, my gosh, the sun is setting faster and faster these days, so it's getting darker earlier. And it just is that time to kind of feel content and, planned out.
Right. And later that same day, we also have Mercury stationing retrograde.
Yeah, he retrogrades in Virgo this year. He hasn't retrograded in Virgo in 6 years because he's retrograding in Earth signs this year. So here is an Earth sign, Virgo, and he rules Virgo. So this retrograde actually is going to be I think, a great period for him to get a lot of secondary things that you have shelved or put on the back burner, or things that, you're going to get around to it.
Right.
This is really a good time to go turn around, backing up backwards, retrograde, backing up to kind of clean up any surfaces that have been stacked of, your inbox, or just really good time for that.
And I'll clarify too. It's not like a square to it. It's around to it. Remember
it's around to it, that, like, literally I saw that. My friend said, look what I did. And she had gone, it was one of those round discs that were wooden. And it was what we used to play with. We used to stick sticks in it. It had holes in it around the edges. And there were sticks you would put in.
Those were a toy.
It was a toy. It was a little bit, maybe it wasn't Lego.
It was Connect, I think. It was called Connect.
Well, she had grabbed it from a toy box and wrote on it to T-O-I-T.
It.
And when her husband, she was asking for some chores or tasks or Saturday duties, that, she'd say, hey, can you fix to her husband, can you fix, in particular, it was this screen door that she kept wanting to fix. And he kept saying, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. And when I get around to it. And so as soon as he said it, I did it to him, says, now you have no excuse.
Here's around to it.
So hilarious. I'm like,
that was good.
Brilliant.
So, shall we move on to the next day or wrap up that Sun ingress Virgo?
Well, and the reason why I said hold until the new moon on September 14th is because the new moon is in Virgo, ruled by this Mercury, and Mercury on that day, September 14th, begins his direct movement. He starts turning forward again. And so we have this August 23rd till September 14th. This is about 20-ish days, 3 weeks, in order to make that connection, which, for you and I heading to Greece during this period was, all the tickets are purchased, all the ferry tickets, which is another crazy story. Everything is organized, planned, cab ride, shuttles, everything that I certainly did early in advance, because I did know that this Mercury would be stationing retrograde, and I wanted to make sure everything was, on point.
Right. So let's move on to the next day, which is your Astro-Interesting day. That is Thursday, August 24th, Mars trine Pluto retrograde.
And this is with reception. And the reason why I say reception, because Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn. So Mars, that's making this movement to make a trine, is exalted in Capricorn. So Mars has authority in Capricorn where Pluto's sitting. So when a planet is making an aspect, any kind of aspect, the conjunctions, the sextiles, all those, this is the trine. There's a synergetic, as I mentioned earlier, with a reception. So Pluto's listening to Mars, and this is about groundwork. And this is about having a deep understanding with what's would the word be? Solutions, solvable solutions. Does that work together?
It definitely does, because they have the same root word.
Solvable solutions, and I like to, whether that's reiteration or whatever iteration, the fact that these situations are solvable. They're not unsolvable, but you're coming up with solutions, properties that are able to work through properly. And again, it's Pluto. So this is a deep understanding of what's possible and how we can solve something permanently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. And it also reminds me of the title of one of my favorite books, is called Everything is Figure-Outable by Marie Forleo. And it is, everything is figure-outable.
And I want to say this will be the last time in our lives that there'll be this Mars making this aspect to Pluto with reception. It'll be the last time in our lives.
Wow.
Because Pluto's leaving Capricorn. Now we've had this Mars trine Pluto in Capricorn for 20 years. So it's probably happened, and this happens every 2 years. So let's just say it happened 10 times in the last 20 years. And so now it's the end. So what piece of the groundwork do you want to
finalize,
understand so that you can create solvable solutions?
Wow, full circle. It was very round to it. So let's move on to Sunday, August 27th, Sun opposing Saturn retrograde.
Yeah, don't take it personally. This is a chill in the air. Woof, we get a little chill breeze where we can get a no, right? This is just once a year, and it happens to be on this day. It's always right around this time. The sun is making this opposition to Saturn. Saturn's retrograde. He's in Pisces. So opposition Pisces is Virgo. So you may get a no or a hand up, like, stop, with the police officer whistle, like, stop, with a big sign. It's a day where, you have to rename your beautiful no. And again, if you've not read Sherry Salada's book titled A Beautiful No.
The Beautiful No, yeah.
Read it. We did book giveaway. She signed a bunch of books for us.
We brought her on the podcast. It's actually one of our early episodes where we did an interview. We went over her chart, we chatted about her book, and it is a great chat. So I would love for you to check out that episode. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, and to take
let's move on
of what a no can, hurt our feelings. It can make us feel inadequate, or it could transfer our confident level to but again, how can you rename this beautiful no to say, not yet? This is not available to me yet. Right.
Oh, yeah. So let's move on for the 27th. We have two more transits. The second is Saturn Sept as a morning star.
Yeah, and this is like the Saturn is the disciplinarian. This happens once a year, and now starts walking behind the sun. And he's a outer planet. He prefers to be walking in front of the sun. So, because if we look at the sun as the king or the royalty or the authority figure, the person that's elevated, Saturn likes to make the announcements that, hear ye, the judge is about to arrive, so Saturn likes to do that. And he's not doing it now. He does it for 6 months of the year, and 6 months of the year he's not. And so this begins the time when he's not. So, he's not as esteemed.
Hear you.
Oh, wow.
So the last transit of this day, Sunday, August 27th, is Mars ingress Libra.
Yeah, and we know that Mars is in detriment, meaning he doesn't have his goods. He doesn't have his bag. Mars has lost his sword or his knife or whatever tool Mars uses. He's lost his maybe gumption or ability or will or strength when he moves into place of his detriment, which is opposite the place that he rules. So it feels like he's in unfamiliar, unfriendly territory. And so
right. And not the kind that he's used to in battle.
Right. So it's kind of like he needs to ask others what they want, right? Because Libra is the, hey, let's share, let's be just, let's be fair, let's have balance. Libra, the scales, I give this, give me that, it's equal. And Mars is like, really, I got to ask you what you want to do. It's like I want to do, not have to respond to what you want, because he'd really rather be doing his own thing.
Right. And it's kind of like taking a warrior who's just so confident in battle and marching forward and thinking later, and then bringing him to kind of like a self-help group that wants to talk about their feelings. So
right. I was
very different battlefield there.
I was thinking of like a kumbaya circle around, I like is the fire camp, a little fire ceremony in the side where he's asked to be the fire starter, right? Or the fire tender, right? Maybe he's using his fire poker, because that would be one of his tools. So that would be the only way that he could engage in this kumbaya circle if he was in charge of stoking the fire, the heat.
Right.
So it's funny.
Well, that's our week ahead.
Yeah. He'll be here
all right.
Yeah. We seem to be button up right now in our conflict week of I say something, you interrupt me immediately. Or I interrupt
immediately.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm interrupting you.
Well, I think that is a wrap on the week ahead. It's going to be, a bit lengthier, but it's still going to be exciting and useful. So let's move into Talisman Times, where you have finished the talisman to release and purify, which surprisingly is sold, but we'll still mention here. Away from me, all of you that linger here, I am aligned to all the beautiful energies in place of you. This suits me best. This is that talisman that we discussed last week, all about the balsamic moon. So the wrapping up of our tribe, that Leo tribe. So anything that does not have, value for the space that it envelops gets released, and something new gets put in its place that has greater value to us. So the upcoming talisman, Tuesday, August 22nd, to welcome a new member into a family.
We are all excited to bring a new soul into our current family. Me especially, as I introduce them to each other. we expand our new family circle. Yeah.
Very sweet.
Yeah, it's the moon is making a really nice aspect to Jupiter and Venus. And we've got the sun still in Leo and the ascendant is Taurus. So Venus being in charge of this again, in moon making an opposition to Jupiter is about, it's hitting all the first house, the seventh house, and the fourth house. So it's about blending this plus this into the home of a new family. So whether this is a introduction, someone's bringing home a boyfriend, girlfriend for the first time, or they got married overseas.
A new baby. Yeah. Right.
Just kind of an introduction, especially if you've been estranged from your family for some reason or adopted and coming back to this family. I have a client right now doing that. Where it's like, it's a welcome to this member of this family at any age, right? It could be a brand new baby. It can be a 90-year-old person that is finding out that she has family or he has family now.
Right. So let's move on to the horizon, where I want to briefly mention, yes, Bali in a Bottle is still up and on the website for you. Go check it out. You will not be disappointed with the beautiful scent it has.
Right. We've sold about half the second shipment. Yeah. So and I don't know that I'll do another one right away. I might just wait till I go to Bali and bring it home. But so there's a few left. Grab.
Yes. Also, the Venus Star Point webinar that we've completed with Ariel is up and available on the website. Those Venus Star Point 2 extra earrings that Sandy was able to create. If you wanted to get your hands on those, they are there and waiting for you.
I also made a charm, one charm.
Okay, great. Awesome. And the 2024 Mexico retreat is enrolling now. Join Deborah in her amazing leap of faith and excitement in joining us on learning the material, learning a little bit more about yourself, and also at the same time, being able to relax in such a beautiful atmosphere. So, and get some sun while you're at it.
I'll be teaching Mercury because Mercury will just be coming out of his retrograde in Capricorn then. So we'll be talking about that. And I've not done a retreat teaching Mercury. So this will be new information. We're half filled already. So that's lovely. Some girls from last year or earlier this year signed right back up because it's just a good time, regardless of what's being taught. It's just they loved this place. They had never been there before, and they went in January of this year. And it's like that was perfect timing for my work after the holidays, and it's a me vacation because it is pretty much staying on property on the beautiful sacred land. There's plenty to do there, and one of those things is rest and eat. Yeah, the food.
Eat delicious pescatarian food. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you want more information, I do have in the link more info for you on that Mexico retreat, as well as in the description, you're going to see the other dates for the 2024 retreat lineup. Of course, if you're interested in joining us for any of the retreats, make sure jump on for a free 15-minute talk with Sandy to see if there's any questions or see if the retreat is a good fit for you. That link is in the description as well. So without further ado, let's jump into our house where Sandy and I had a mother-daughter date and it was so much fun. So let's chat.
It was a surprise because I didn't have it on my calendar, and about a day ahead, maybe 2 days ahead, you said you had tickets to see John Legend at Ravinia, which is a outdoor lawn sit down pavilion if you buy those tickets, and you had bought some tickets, and
Right.
You surprised me with them, and we were like, oh my God, it was a dreary day. It looked like it was going to rain, although it never did. And we kind of got a late start to get up there because we had done our Venus Star Point that morning at 6:15, which you and I had to get up at 4:30 a.m.
Right.
Roll that great thing out. Then we went to breakfast.
But don't forget that you were at the Pink concert the night before and the morning of. So we were burning the candle from both ends. Well, you mainly were.
Yeah, I got home after midnight from Pink because my girlfriend and I decided to take the train down. And of course, like the train back is always a cluster buck. But we did it and got home after midnight, and hurry and woke up at 4:30 and got together and did our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ceremony with Ariel. And thank you everybody that did sign up and get your paperwork and all of that. And we went to breakfast, which we never do anymore. We walked up the street to a breakfast spot and came back, did the podcast, and we actually laid on the couch and took a nap. And like, okay, let's get going. And so I have an old suitcase filled with all Ravinia things because I've been Ravinia for 40 years. And it just sits in there. And I haven't been at Ravinia for a couple of years, but that stuff sits there and I just have to grab it. And so I grabbed another suitcase and we put in, some candles, and we went and got food. And you're like, we're driving up there and you're like, Mom, this is overkill. We do not need
it is.
2 suitcases of stuff. We're not going to use everything. And I was like, we're not. What are we going to try to do? Take one suitcase stuff and put it in another suitcase that's already filled? Alex, it's not going to work. We can't downsize. Yeah, we're going to downsize. We get back and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it now when we get in the parking lot. And I'm like, what are you moving out? He says, Mom, we're not going to use all this stuff. I said, bet me we use it all. And so because I'm the authority figure, I got my way. We just zipped them back up, and we're like rolling your eyes at me. And we have to walk because we got there, well, not really late. We got there an hour before the thing, but it's late for Ravinia lawn.
Right, because normally what you'll do is you'll bring all of these materials in one of those little pull carts. People usually jump on the metro train from the city or from wherever they're coming from and get off at that. And then they need to walk maybe like a quarter of a mile. We had to do something a little bit different. We drove down, we parked in a faraway parking lot, and then we took one of the shuttle buses over to it. And along the way, we had multiple comments along the lines of, are you going to Ravinia or are you moving in? Did you just land from the airport?
So I'm like, hey, there's suitcases. You guys are carrying all this stuff in bags and things on your shoulders and backpacks, and you're carrying the chairs that are falling over. And some of you've got, rolling coolers. Some of you have these big ass, beach, what do you call those, wagons? I'm like, this is a suitcase. It's so easy. We had to get in this long line to get in on the shuttle, and you're embarrassed. You're just like, you're acting like Andrew. You act like your brother, because I embarrass him all the time, 24/7. I never used to.
It's much harder. It's much harder for you to embarrass me.
Yeah. And you're embarrassed because you're pulling one of these big suitcases, and people are like, what were they saying? What were they saying, Alex?
Well, okay. In the beginning, it was a lot of making jokes. But then when we were actually in line and people were understanding the practicality and your side of things, they started mentioning, well, if that isn't the smartest thing I've seen here, and like rarest thing I've ever seen here at Ravinia, I saw not one other suitcase in the gourds of people that were arriving. Not one had a suitcase. All of them had full carts. All of them were carrying the big old bags and the ice, the coolers, the strollers, the whatever it is. It was a lot of people, and we were the only ones with just 2 suitcases. And there were many women who came up and said, if that's not the smartest thing I've ever seen.
And we didn't have anything hanging off our shoulder. We didn't even bring purses, right? We are carefree, right. Just rolling a suitcase. And so you were like, but Mom, we're so late. We're never going to find a place to find on the lawn. We're not even going to need all this. And I'm like, we'll see.
I was.
You were being a little wee-osh. And
well, we were tired.
And so we get in, and we went in a back way where the bus dropped us off. And it's like grass, so much space in this one section where there's big speakers. It's like, oh my God, Alex, so we got out the 2 big plastic things that you think we didn't need. I'm like, in 1 hour, you will feel underneath this plastic by the grass, and it will be sopping wet. Trust me on this. We're the only ones that put down plastic, and I've been doing that for 40 years. We put plastic down, and then our beautiful old
blanket.
Well, it was a bedspread, a really cool pink silk bedspread, and then we used our suitcase as a table. I had another cover blanket for the suitcase as our table. We put the chairs together that were in the suitcase. We got out all of our food. We got out our bottle of wine. We got out our candlesticks. And at some point, we took our shoes off, right? Because we're on the little blanket. And our feet got cold. And I reached in my suitcase and I got 2 pair of socks that you didn't think we needed. And it kept our feet warm. And we used every single thing in that suitcase except the playing cards.
We really did. Oh, well, there you go. I win, everybody. That is a wrap on this episode. And, but in all seriousness, yes, it was a brilliant idea. We will do that again. John Legend turned out to be a wonderful concert full of stories and beautiful music and a beautiful voice. So thank you for joining me, Mom. It was a really wonderful mother-daughter date.
It was great.
That is a wrap on this episode. Thank you everybody for listening in. We love your messages, so keep them coming. Also, if you haven't reviewed us yet on wherever you listen to this podcast, please do. We love those 5 stars, and we will share them here on the podcast. Thank you everybody for joining, and we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you. The story of you, the story